Welcome to Digitalopolis Discussions. Okay, here's something to think about. What if a simple blue dye, the kind first made back in the 1870s for blue jeans, actually held a key to boosting your energy, sharpening your mind, maybe even turning back the clock a bit?
That's almost too good to be true, right?
Exactly. Sounds like science fiction. But that's what we're digging into today. Methylene blue.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably heard about it, seen it mentioned maybe, but figuring out what's real and what's just hype, that can be tough.
It really can. Information overload is a real thing.
Totally. We know you want the straight facts, none of the fluff. So we've done the legwork, sorted through the research to bring you the most important stuff.
Yeah, our goal here is pretty simple. Give you a clear, evidence-based look at what methylene blue actually is, how it might work in the body, and, what the potential benefits really are.
And crucially, tackle the myths and the safety side, too.
Absolutely. Let's start with the basics. Its journey is, it's pretty remarkable. From dyeing textiles to potentially boosting health.
So it was synthesized in a lab back then?
Yes, late 19th century. And it's a good reminder, isn't it? Synthetic doesn't automatically mean bad.
Right, just like natural isn't always good either.
Precisely. But here's the really wild part, historically speaking.
Ah.
It was the first drug ever approved by the FDA.
The very first, in 1897.
1897, yeah. The first one, that kind of changes how you see it, doesn't it?
Right.
It wasn't just some random chemical. It set the standard.
Wow. Okay, so what was its initial job as a drug?
Primarily, it was used against malaria. Research shows it was quite effective there, and it also had antimicrobial properties.
Fighting microbes?
Yeah. There are even accounts, research suggests, of soldiers in World War II using it to help prevent wound infections.
Okay, that's interesting.
And that led to this very noticeable side effect, blue urine.
Ah, the famous blue urine.
The very same.
Yeah.
But the twist is that blue urine actually seemed to help clear up urinary tract infections, too. An unexpected bonus.
You couldn't make it up. What a history. And I think I read somewhere it was used in psychiatry, too.
You did. For a time, yes. Because it acts as a mild MAOI that's a monoamine oxidase inhibitor.
Right.
It was looked at for use as an antipsychotic.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, other drugs have largely replaced it for that specific purpose.
Sure.
But what's exciting now is the renewed focus on its more fundamental roles, like supporting our mitochondria, maybe boosting cognitive function, even potentially impacting aging.
Okay. Mitochondria, cognition, aging. But let's address the blue elephant in the room. Given the color, does it actually, stain your organs blue?
The blue elephant? Good one. It's a fair question. And the answer is generally no, not at the doses people typically use for wellness.
Okay.
That staining issue. Research indicates it really only happens at very, very high intravenous doses. We're talking the kind used in emergencies like septic shock, maybe 2 to 3 milligrams per kilogram of body weight.
Much higher than typical supplement doses then.
Way higher. The lower oral doses, the kind we're discussing today, they don't build up and stain tissues like that. It cycles between the blue form and a colorless form. It's called redox cycle.
So it doesn't just sit there being blue.
Exactly. It's constantly changing.
Phew. Okay, that's a relief. So the blue urine is just like waste.
Precisely. It's just your body getting rid of any excess it doesn't need or use. It's not dyeing your bladder on the way out.
Got it. But you mentioned safety earlier. Is there anything else apart from the dose?
Yes. And this is really important. Heavy metal contamination.
Ah, because it's synthesized?
Well, because if it's not made to proper standards, it can be contaminated with things like lead, cadmium, mercury, arsenic, really nasty stuff.
Yikes.
Which is why it is absolutely critical to only use USP-grade methylene blue.
USP-grade.
United States Pharmacopoeia grade. It means it's tested to meet pharmaceutical standards, including tests for those heavy metals. You have to be sure of the purity.
Okay, USP-grade. Noted. So this simple dye has a complex past and some important safety checks. Let's get into the mechanics now. How does it actually do stuff inside us?
Right, the nitty-gritty. So its main stage is the mitochondria, our cellular power plants.
Yeah.
Research shows it acts as an electron donor and carrier within something called the electron transport chain, the ETC.
The energy assembly line.
Perfect analogy. Electrons get passed along this line to make ATP, our energy currency. Methylene blue can kind of grease the wheels. It helps electrons keep moving, especially if parts of that line are broken or slow. It keeps the energy production going, and another key thing it does is help recycle NADH back into NAD plus A.
NAD plus I, which we hear so much about for aging and energy.
The very same. NAD+ is vital for tons of cellular processes. Methylene blue helps keep those NAD+ levels up by regenerating it from NADH. It's like tuning up the whole system.
Okay, so it's helping the energy flow. And I remember reading the dose really matters for how it works.
Hugely important distinction. Research suggests that at lower doses, say roughly 4 to 25 milligrams a day, it mainly acts as an antioxidant.
Fighting free radicals.
Correct. Mopping up those damaging reactive oxygen species. But you go to higher doses, maybe closer to that 1 milligram per kilogram range.
The kind used sometimes medically.
Right. Then it can act as a prooxidant. It actually increases hydrogen peroxide.
Which sounds bad, but can be good.
In certain contexts, yes. That effect is part of its antimicrobial action. But for general daily use, people are typically aiming for that lower antioxidant dose range.
And there was something about repair, too.
Yes, some really interesting, though maybe early research suggests it might even help regenerate complex 4 of that electron transport chain cytochrome C oxidase. So not just bypassing damage, but potentially helping to fix it.
Fascinating. Okay, let's tie this mechanism to the benefits people talk about. Mitochondria first, energy, fatigue.
Well, if you improve mitochondrial function, the downstream effects make sense.
Yeah.
Research links it to potential improvements in things like chronic fatigue, that feeling of brain fog.
Which so many people struggle with.
So many. Also, potentially faster recovery after workouts, maybe better muscle endurance. And think about this statistic. Some researchers estimate that maybe up to 94% of people might have some degree of mitochondrial dysfunction.
94%, that's almost everyone.
It's a staggering number, yeah. Driven by modern life stress, infections, environmental factors, diet. It all adds up and hits the mitochondria.
Okay, that context is powerful. What about mood and cognition? How does a blue dye affect thinking?
It goes back to that mild MAOI effect we touched on.
Right, the monoamine oxidase inhibitor thing.
Yeah. By gently inhibiting that enzyme, research suggests it can lead to a slight temporary increase in neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine.
On the feel-good chemicals.
Essentially, yes. But it's important to stress it's much milder and shorter acting than prescription MAOI antidepressants. It's not operating on that same level.
So more of a subtle support.
That seems to be the idea. And that's why it's been studied and is being studied for things like depression, bipolar disorder, even Alzheimer's. Some studies specifically show improved memory consolidation at low doses.
Memory improvement. Interesting. Okay, what about physical performance? Athletes seem interested.
Yeah, there's a plausible mechanism there. Because it can accept electrons, research suggests it might enhance aerobic capacity, especially when oxygen is limited.
Like at high altitude, or during really intense exercise.
Exactly. High altitude, or maybe during the peak of endurance sports. It potentially acts as an alternative electron acceptor when oxygen can't keep up, a sort of metabolic backup.
Could it help with recovery, too, like between sets in the gym?
Potentially. Some evidence hints it might aid recovery between intense anaerobic bursts, like you'd see in CrossFit or HIIT training. Less fatigue, maybe more reps or faster recovery. Still needs more research, but the idea is there.
And the anti-aging angle, particularly for skin.
Right. A lot of this work is from skin models in labs, so we need to be a bit cautious extrapolating.
Sure, lab models aren't people.
But some findings are interesting. These studies suggest methylene blue might boost the production of collagen and elastin.
Key for skin structure and elasticity?
Yep, and improve skin hydration. Plus, some comparisons suggest it might be better at reducing oxidative stress in skin cells than some other antioxidants. Promising, but needs more human data.
Okay, so if someone's intrigued by all this, how do they approach using it? Dosing seems key.
It absolutely is. And the consensus advice, based on current understanding, is start low. Really low, like 4 to 8 milligrams once a day. Then you slowly, gradually increase every, say, 3 to 5 days. See how you feel. Pay attention to your body's response.
What's a typical target range?
Many people seem to find their sweet spot somewhere between 8 and 25 milligrams per day for general support. Higher doses might be used for acute things, but again, that's usually best with guidance.
Okay, start low, go slow. What about timing? Morning, night?
Good question. Most recommend morning or maybe early afternoon.
Why is that?
Because for some people, it can be a bit energizing, maybe slightly stimulating. Taking it late could potentially interfere with sleep.
Makes sense.
However, it's funny, some individuals actually report they sleep better taking it at night. So there's definitely individual variation.
Always the way. Any other specific uses, like for travel?
Yes. The jet lag protocol is interesting. The ideal is to take a dose before or during the flight to potentially help combat the mild hypoxia, the lower oxygen levels in the cabin.
Huh. I might have to try that. Okay, side effects. We know blue urine is harmless. Temporary teeth staining brushes off. What about that overstimulation?
Yeah, if the dose is too high for you, you might feel a bit edgy, anxious, maybe have trouble sleeping. That's a sign to back off the dose.
Right. Listen to your body.
Always. Oh, and one practical tip. Probably best not to take it right before you have urine or blood tests done.
Because it blue.
Because the color could potentially interfere with the lab readings and give inaccurate results. Just skip it that day.
Good tip. Is it addictive or anything?
No, it's generally considered non-addictive.
Yeah.
And actually, the goal is often that as your underlying mitochondrial health improves over time with lifestyle changes and support like this, you might be able to reduce the dose or take breaks.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Okay, quality. You hammered this point home earlier about USP-grade. How do people find reliable stuff? Avoid the junk.
It's so important. Experts really advise against just grabbing something off, say, Amazon or similar large platforms.
Too much risk of fakes or bad batches.
Exactly. Counterfeits, stuff that's massively underdosed, or worse, contaminated. You just don't know what you're getting.
So look for reputable brands, probably direct or through practitioners.
That's generally safer. And check the form. Liquids often seem to be underdosed in testing. Truches, those little lozenges that dissolve in your mouth, tend to offer better absorption and more accurate dosing.
Truches, okay.
But the absolute bottom line is check for that USP-grade certification and look for proof of third-party heavy metal testing. Don't settle for less.
Crystal clear. So, summing up, who really stands to benefit most here?
Well, based on the mechanisms and the anecdotal reports, research suggests it might be particularly helpful for people dealing with ongoing fatigue, that stubborn brain fog.
Maybe post-viral issues like long COVID?
That's definitely an area of interest, yes.
Yeah.
Also, athletes looking for that performance edge or faster recovery, frequent travelers dealing with jet lag, and of course, anyone interested in proactive strategies for healthy aging.
But it's not for absolutely everyone, right?
Definitely not. It's crucial to remember that. It's ideally used with some understanding, maybe guidance from a healthcare practitioner who knows your health history, other meds you're on, etc. It interacts with some things, like certain antidepressants, due to that MAOI effect.
Right. Always best to be safe and informed. So like we said at the beginning, it's not some magic pill that fixes everything on its own.
Not at all. Think of it as a potential tool, maybe a powerful one. But it works best as part of a whole strategy. You still need the foundations. Good nutrition, decent sleep, managing stress.
The basics never go away.
But they really don't. But with those foundations in place, methylene blue could be, for some people, a real game changer for their mitochondrial health and overall vitality. It just needs that careful attention to dose, quality, and individual response.
A fascinating journey, from dyeing genes blue to potentially tuning up our cellular engines. So could this unexpected story change how you think about well-being and the power hiding in some overlooked compounds?
Something to ponder, definitely.
Thank you for being with us today. If you enjoyed this discussion, please subscribe for more deep dives like this one.